What's going on? I'm Spencer Tillis.
And I'm Angela Santoro.
I'm Trayvon Miles.
And this is the Delmarva Sports Insider. Coming up in just a bit in today's episode, the 47 ABC Spring Training Takeover was a success. We stopped by the Phillies camp to see how Philly could possibly be this year, and spoiler alert, they might be worse than advertised.
And the Nationals could arguably have the best pitching rotation in the majors. We'll have more on that coming up later.
And what is spring break without a little high school baseball tournament action? Highlights coming up later in the show.
And of course, this is the Delmarva Sports Insider, and we'll get to those local sports in a second. But in case you were under a rock, we were down in Florida all week. The 47 ABC Spring Training Takeover was an amazing trip. Tell you what, we got a chance to check in on all of our favorite pro teams, and that's where we're going to begin today. A huge thing are happening for the Orioles as they're getting ready for the season. Baltimore finished last year with 96 wins and won the AL East by 12 games. They're going to look to repeat that performance again this year, but it's not going to be as easy. The O's have taken some hits this offseason, losing slugger Nelson Cruz to the Mariners. They also saw Nick Markakis pack up, and he headed down south to go play for my Braves, and we'll get to my Braves in a little bit. But, all right, there's a lot of things I think O's fans are nervous about this team. Some of them were on display down there, but there was a silver lining to it, and I think that's the pitching staff. I mean, they look like they could be pretty solid for this group moving forward this year. They bring back that whole rotation, which looked really good last year. That means Bud Norris, Wei-Yin Chen, Kevin Gossman, Chris Tillman, Miguel Gonzalez. I mean, they got a squad. And now, true, none of those guys were 20-game winners. In fact, Gossman, who might end up being the ace here a couple years down the line, he didn't even win double-digit games last year. But there is some good things that you did not hear there. That was Ubaldo Jimenez. I'm sure O's fans are happy to hear that he's not necessarily going to be a starter in this rotation. Not a lot of dependency there. And couple that with Zach Britton, Tommy Hunter, and now a full season with Andrew Miller coming out of the pen. The staff has all the pieces, and they look like they could be really solid.
Everyone's looking good. Getting your innings at this point in the spring, I think everyone's ready to get the season going. So it's just about everyone staying healthy. But I think we're going to be good again. You got some guys with more experience now in the bullpen and then the rotation again. So I think we're gonna have a good year again.
I look at it, I think the O's, it's kind of what's your flavor. I mean, my problem with it is, there's depth there at the starters. They've got good options in the pen. But there isn't that true ace that I look at. I'm like, that's the guy that you can hand the ball to. You're like, we're winning today strictly because of that guy. I mean, they've got a number of guys that are really good that you go out and you feel confident with. But if you match them up in the postseason against a true number one, I don't know if those are the guys that are going to win that matchup for you. Granted, you look at the Royals, they didn't necessarily have an ace last year. They made it pretty far, too. I mean, they had a pretty solid season. So I don't know if you really need that, but I think they needed to address that or at least see someone kind of emerge. I mean, you're nitpicking at this point, but that could end up being a little trouble for them.
I think other points that were a little bit of trouble was that the Orioles have been seeing a couple different injuries that popped up. The past couple of days they've been popping up, but last season more so than ever. The most talked about, though, was Manny Machado and Matt Wieters. You guys, we got to figure out how they've been looking this upcoming season. After 2 knee surgeries in 2 years, it could be easy to lose hope, but Manny Machado is back and he's feeling better than ever. Machado returned to regular baseball activities back in January. Now, as for catcher Matt Wieters, he will begin the season on the DL and have to slowly progress his way back to full swing, but
well, Manny looks like himself in spring training, and obviously Matt's working his way back into. So it's March, so it's going to take a little bit of time, but they'll be ready.
Machado needed to get both of those 2 surgeries, you guys. He had to get those out of the way so that he could come back confident in his own abilities and finish out an entire season, not just cut it off. As an athlete, though, there is nothing that can compare to the worry that comes from getting an injury or the same exact injury reoccurring. And in his situation, he knew that same knee problem from 2013 could arise, so they made the decision as a team to get that same surgery done on his right knee done, and that will only benefit the rest of his career. I think that he's going to have an outstanding year and stay healthy. Now, as for Wieters, there is no doubt at all that those pitchers are missing his presence behind the plate. He had a couple of setbacks, though, in the last couple of weeks with some elbow tendonitis. The Tommy John surgery can be pretty crucial, but I don't see, he's got a cannon for an arm, you guys. I do not see that going anywhere. It's going to take some time, but he will get back out there soon, and they definitely need him.
And it's funny, they talk about Machado looking back. he didn't look too comfortable at the plate. I mean, it wasn't pretty out there. I think there's a lot of rust as he works his way back in, but he's one of the best third basemen in the entire league. So,
and another guy I really want to talk about that wasn't there for the end of last season, not due to injury, but kind of due to PEDs, was Chris Davis. Davis just 2 years removed from leading the majors in home runs and finishing third in the AL MVP race. 2014 was flat out a disappointment. Missed a lot of time last season, including the playoffs, when the Orioles really could have used him. Despite last year's finish, Davis says he's geared up for 2015.
Oh, I'm ready to go. There's no doubt. I looked forward to the beginning of spring training, kind of get back and get with my teammates and just be back on the field. And obviously things have gone well, and I'm ready to roll for opening day.
Now, guys, that is an interesting soundbite. You want to know why? Because Davis will miss opening day, finishing up from that suspension. I hope he's aware of that. But I hope he can turn it around, man. He's a fairly young guy, only 29 years old. He's a good locker room guy, very family-oriented. Hit 226 this spring. I do have my concerns for him as far as this team goes. Replacing Nelson Cruz, 40 home runs, 108 RBIs last season. Crush definitely needs to have a solid year.
Yeah, him and Jones definitely are going to have to pair up because I don't think you could do it with just one person. I mean, they found lightning in the bottle last year with Cruz, but Crush definitely has the repertoire that he's done it before, so we can see if he can do it again.
Got to get going.
Well, it's time for our first commercial break, but coming up next, we are still talking some spring training. With opening day right around the corner, what can fans expect from the Nationals? We're going to talk about that next.
I'm Adrian Hill. I play catcher for Polytech High School, and you're watching Delmarva Sports Insider.